Ted Brooks checking back in with the Sports Prophets, and welcome back to TSP TV. Sports Prophets Prep, tips and tidbits on second and first half basketball betting. Guys, before I get into more videos like this, a Freely Day winner, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. If you want the daily freeze, if you want these types of videos, subscribe to the YouTube page, follow the Instagram because we do throw special deals on Instagram that we do not do anywhere else. All right, first and second half bets allow sports bettors to wager on individual parts of a football or basketball game instead of betting the whole game if they have a specific piece of information on that specific part of the game. You're placing a bet on the scoring of what that individual half will be. We also have quarter bets, but we're not going to really get into those much. We're just going to stick to the first and second half. With football and basketball first and second half, point spreads are assigned just like a regular game. Over-unders, sides, money lines, all of that stuff. In pro sports, full half lines are typically one half of what the full game is. NBA, if the total's 200, the first half will typically be around 100. In college sports, it's a little bit different. Large favorites are frequently favored by more one half than they are the other half. A 31-point favorite in football will likely be favored by 17 points or more in the first half of the game. Now, college basketball totals usually are made on the assumption that there are going to be 10 points scored more in the second half than in the first half. So if you have a college basketball total set at 140, instead of both halves being 70 and 70, you're going to most likely have a 75 half and a 65 half. Now, there are several reasons that bettors are should consider first and second half. Certain teams might tend to play well at the beginning of a game or fade down the stretch, or they might tend to be closers. They might tend to close the game well. Second half lines are made at halftime. Far less time for the sports books to create their numbers. So when you're betting on a second half line, you're a little bit more even with the sports book because now you're watching the same thing they are, and they don't have as much time, resources, money, people to put into that line as they do some of these other lines. And I always talk about this, and I hate to go off topic, but I have to touch on this. Going against a sports book, a lot of times it's a battle of resources. Who has more resources? Is it us? Is it the sports book? Usually, obviously, it's a sports book. We're just always trying to compete and keep level ground with them. So, that being said, we've discussed certain strategies in the past. We've discussed first half, second half, but I'm going to go into some really nice, detailed pieces of the way we play these first and second halves. If you have solid information pointing to an under in a game, this applies really big time, even more for college than pro. The public's generally going to be on the over. It's going to inflate the lines, going to give you super solid shots at that first half under. So when you're looking at first half unders in general, you look at since 2010 in college hoops, the first half under in an inflated line game is 2,066 winners, 1,561 losers, and 82 ties, putting us at 57% on those first half unders. And that's just without any information. That's just all of them combined. And if you're betting $100 a piece on them, you would have made $31 or $31,000 over the past decade. A little tidbit there. Now, here's another piece of college basketball information that we feel every player should have in their arsenal. If you look for a team having a pretty rough stretch or losing against the spread, lay money on that team in the first half, guys. Bettors who are willing to look past that recent shortcoming, that recent stretch, you'll see that the first half statistics, you have 364 wins. Okay, you got 269 losses. That's 57.5% also against the spread since 2010 again. So those are two statistics, two first half bets right there that are statistically 57 and 57.5% against the spread over the last decade. It's easy. That's something you don't need our help for. Just simple play it, and you're going to win 57% of the time. Do it the right way, though. Call us if you need our help. Guys, we're going to move on to some second half moves. I'm just going to say watching the game really helps. If you're watching the game, you're gathering information that wouldn't be available prior. Okay, you're on the same line as the sports books, like I said before, and You can see things like if a player gets injured, if they're keeping him on the bench, or if he's in foul trouble. You can see the flurries of points that come in. All right, you can see a lot of information. You can see the pace. You can see how referees are calling the game. Listen, I'm probably not going to bet a second half under if the refs are calling multiple hand check fouls 30 feet from the basket. It's a tough spot to really play those. So you're going to watch the game, you're going to watch the box score, and as you develop, you'll be able to really get a feel, a rhythm for those second half bets and your winning percentage with those halftime bets on the games that you watch. I want you to just try this, even if it's a small wager. Watch those games, play them, and see what your winning percentage is. It should be higher or you're not doing it right. Obviously, regardless of watching the game, you can check out the box score. Obviously, the box score doesn't tell the whole story. So here's a couple things you want to look at. You want to look at free throws. You want to look at what team is being the aggressor. If team A shot 25% but got to the line a bunch of times, and team B shot double that but didn't get to the line a bunch of times, it's likely that the shooting percentages for both teams will end up comparable by the end of the game. Rebounding is also key, guys. If I see a team dominating the boards, guys, it's an indication that they're the better team. So even if the score is close, if you see the rebounds, right, and you see that specific team is getting more rebounds, play them the second half. That's a really good tip right there also. When you find a situation when a team like that's trailing, it's a really good bet. Trust me when I tell you. Guys, another thing is margin, and it has to do with totals. When you're looking at the margin of score at halftime, how much one team's leading, a couple other items also, pace and that nature. But the games that are tight throughout the whole first half, especially if that score is low and that pace is low, okay, they're going to have a higher probability of going under in the second half also. So you definitely want to stay away from the over there. Another place where you want to look at the margin and play that under in the second half. If the game is very, very lopsided, the referees, they tend to not call as many fouls, just put the whistle away. You start to see bench players who their offense really isn't going to do what the starters were doing. So in the last 5 minutes, you're not going to really see the fouling. You're just going to see kind of like let it flow. Let's get this over with. So I really look for the unders there also, unless the coach has a history of padding his stats, which can change the story. A 6-12 margin of a score, a 6 to 12 point difference, that's really where you're going to look for the fouls, free throws late on. I really believe that that's where you're going to go over. So if that margin is 6 to 12 points at the half, you can look more for an over. If it's under 6, you can look under. If it's over 12, closer to that 20-25 mark, you can look under as well. That's how, these are just general scenarios, general things where you can just easily look at something and bet it without needing our help. Obviously, we want you to get the full professional feel, but if you're just looking for a quick halftime wager, this is a way to do it right here. Looking for the scores and talent differentials always. So another profile that we like to bet is when a big favorite is trailing at home and the performance of the shooting in the first half has been very bad. Play them. They're going to cover the second half, come back. These are just great bets. Now, oftentimes, close games will have higher scoring second halves. We throw that in the mix also, guys. That's that 6 to 12, okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about some NBA, a second half under move in the NBA. So you bet the second half under when the first half margin went under by double digits and the total points scored in the first half is less than 100 points. Simple NBA betting strategy is 738 wins, 534 losses, 25 pushes, 58% since 2005. The sample size is pretty damn strong, okay? This betting strategy over the past 14 years, if you took nothing else into account, just use this specific betting strategy, in 14 years it's only had one losing year. So 13 out of 14 years it's been successful and profitable. It's another tidbit of knowledge that's absolutely free, but if you don't have time to apply this one, we actually have a program where we can take this and alert you whenever this scenario pops up, and we're going to be developing programs in the future. They're easy, where we just alert you where that scenario pops up. Now, we're going to move into middling, and we're going to close it out with middling. This is a really sweet play that you're going to want to learn. It's an absolute moneymaker. It's part of every professional bettor's arsenal. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it refers to instances where the swings and the betting lines allow for the opportunity where a player can bet both sides of the game and potentially win both bets. I'm going to show an example on the screen here. Okay, Atlanta's playing Boston. The line opens up with Boston as a 5-point favorite. You bet on Boston. Now, as the tip-off comes closer, it's announced that Atlanta is resting 2 players. Now, all of a sudden, Boston is a 10-point favorite. Okay, the middling opportunity is if you bet Atlanta plus 10. Okay, you're going to win one of those bets no matter what. So you just basically washed out your chances of losing any money besides the juice. You have a four scenarios, a 4-point margin, okay, where you're going to win both bets, and then you have 2 scenarios where you're going to push and win. So it's 6 scenarios, 6 margins, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's actually 6 margins. You're going to have only a winning scenario. Okay, so it's really interesting. It sounds like free money, I know that, but there is a risk involved because one of the bets are going to come through, one aren't. You're always going to lose juice when you go 1-1, so you have to take into account. It's not like you just keep tying and it doesn't affect you. If you tie 8, 9, 10 times, it's like losing a full game. So you got to understand that as well if you go 1-1 that many times. So just keep that in mind, and let's go to another one now. The tip we're going to suggest here is looking out for a wager that you've already done in an NBA game and the first half. Now, this is where it applies directly to the half. The first half results in a blowout. Here's the example once again. Chicago is playing Detroit. You bet Detroit plus 3 underdog. Detroit just blows Chicago out. So obviously your line's looking great. You're dancing around. Now the Chicago line second half is -6. In this scenario, you have an 18-point cushion on your plus 3 Detroit bet. Great. Now you can actually bet Chicago to cover the 6 in the second half, and Chicago can win that half by anywhere from 7 to 18 points, and both of your bets are going to win. Guys, you have an 18-point range there where both bets will win. Just absolutely incredible stuff right there. All right, listen, these examples, they're not exaggerations. These middling opportunities are out there. Sportsbooks make a ton offering these second half lines. Their weakness with some of these lines is that they have to put the line out based on where they think the bet will fall, the action that's occurred and the action that they've already taken on that game. So there's a lot of factors come in. You just have to look at the one solid thing. You don't have to take in all those factors. So that's why it's so good and so easy for at least us to really get that second half bet in, because they have to look at, okay, we have to keep the line here because we have to make sure that our money's even. We don't care about any of that. We just go for the win, and it's so much simpler. So that being said, they also have to look at other books. So you're looking at other books, see what those lines are at, and they have to do it all within 15 minutes, and it's a clear-cut, amazing, I can't stress this enough, amazing opportunity to make money. Second halves, guys, basketball. Look for these opportunities. Crush the books when they give it to you. We encourage you to always do it on your own. It's something you can do. It's hard if you're paying for us to do second halves for you. It's not the cheapest thing in the world because of the limited time and the limited information. Guys, listen, we recommend one more thing. Keep your sights and your options open so that you can shop the best line. We're going to leave it there for now. I want you to know that we will be back giving more tips and tidbits on first and second halves for basketball. But that's it for today. Until next time, guys, Ted Brooks signing out.